They are who we thought they were. Panic in Piscataway as defense is optional as Rutgers escapes with a 34-31 victory. Let's get to it.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown them. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Okay, what started off to be a pretty feel-good kind of night kind of became a nail-biter as Rutgers is who we thought they were. Famous quote from Dennis Green, "Tale of two units demonstrates how there was optimism about the offense, probably our best offense and offensive weaponry in a long time, and a defense that, quite frankly, and is Swiss cheese once again." You know, let's get to this. I'm not throwing any bouquets being thrown here over a new look, productive offense. We've all been waiting for that for a long time, and it felt good last night that we actually had a team that can move the ball, be efficient, and execute. It wasn't like, a couple good plays here, take a step back. They were moving the ball, and the offense performed as expected, from Ethan to the running backs to the wide receivers, and we'll get to all of that in a moment. And, the famous Bill Parcells quote, "You are what your record says you are." We're 1-0. I think it's kind of a soft 1-0, but nonetheless, we are 1-0. And I'm not even sure if this is one of those things where you can use some coaching platitudes and, something to build upon. And, coach always likes to say it's better to teach after a win than a loss. Nonetheless, let the Rob Smith hate begin. And that defense was bad. But in defensive Rob Smith, he does have a co-defensive coordinator, and they were bad last year. Same problems. Gashed in the run game. Can't stop anybody. Terrible in the red zone. A MAC team pushed us around. A MAC team that, still had core guys on offense in Parker Navarro. We'll get to him in a second. Defense lost a bunch of guys. Well, and they pushed us around with effing Shedrick Rhodes on an whole line with all new guys. Dude, are you kidding me? What do you think Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Washington are going to do to us? What about, maybe Maryland gets back to playing productive offense. Minnesota, we're going to struggle, and this is not about, well, it's the first week kind of platitudes. This is not a work in progress, building chemistry kind of thing. We stunk. There was a reason why the Big Ten Network and Greg Schiano were worried about the defense. It wasn't about, first week, work in progress, a miscommunication here, a bad technique there, building chemistry. We were out-schemed, out-coached, outplayed by the Ohio offense. We didn't do anything. No containment. Red zone management was terrible. We didn't harass getting Parker Navarro's face enough to knock him off stride on those rollouts and force him to throw the ball down the field. We did a couple times, and he made some plays on, once again, just missed sack opportunities. In your face tip balls. He's not a tall guy. Talking about, despite all the roses being thrown, and he's not Jaden Daniels. He's a schoolyard kind of play, not unlike Johnny Manziel. Now you expect guys like that, they can make plays now and again, but all game long, that offense just destroyed us. There was no time at any point during this game where I felt, okay, we'll stop them here. Not once ever. Terrible third down defense, particularly early. They wound up being 5 for 10, but they were just executing on third down early. 5 for 5 in the red zone. Aaron Brightman was talking about recently. I mean, we had a 70% touchdown rate in the red zone. Well, it might even be worse this year. Gave up 201 yards rush. Again, gashed in the run game. 6.5 yards per rush. No pressure, no takeaways, no sense this defense would be able to get a stop. And everybody was all excited about Eric O'Neal and Bradley Weaver taking the next step. Okay, they might not be as productive as they were at their level, but they were going to plug some holes and be solid for us. And seen my videos, I was skeptical about this. I didn't really see anything that would say, especially when, if you're paying a little bit of attention in camp and some of the reports coming out, that defensive front was going to be able to apply pressure and be productive. They didn't take the next step. We had a few near misses, but on those few near misses, Navarro made them pay. Same old problem. Just missing, not enough harassment, can't get the quarterback to the ground. Even more concerning is the secondary. They were awful. God awful. Wide receivers open all night long. Now, yes, okay, these guys, they've never started a game for Rutgers. They play, just cover your guy. They're open all night long. On that little, tight end dump off that Parker Navarro hit. Actually, they had a couple tight end touchdowns. I don't know. College Sanders looked kind of lost on it. Maybe he was spying Parker Navarro, whatever. There was no time you felt, okay, we'll stop him here, and then we'll get the ball back and we'll just march downfield. I kept writing in my notes in my Samsung Galaxy all night. Effing stop somebody for once. Just stop somebody. Now we get it. We kick the ball off. The ball bounces around, and Ohio botches the play. And then the ball's at the 3-yard line. Okay, here's an opportunity. Maybe you stop them, get a turnover. You think, no, they march right down the field. Now, where'd they go? 85 yards. I think they got a field goal on that drive. I mean, what do you think Ohio State and Oregon are going to do to us? They're going to run us out of the building. Maybe we'll score 25, 30 points on them. Not for a botched snap on the block punt. By the way, we lead the country over the past 3 years in block punts with 11. So good job, at least playing some type of Shiano ball. And a defensive holding penalty on Ohio late in the game on 3rd and 7, as we're trying to extend the drive to hopefully put this game away, would have been a different outcome. And today would have been a very different day. In the end, a gamble by Coach Shiano on 4th and 7 in Ohio territory to try and put the game away. A lot of people were like, wait, is he really going? No, he's just trying to draw him offside. But he went for it. And I kind of liked it because it's like, you can't always play conservative Shiano ball. Sometimes you got to take a calculated risk But if it backfired, like you overthink it like you did against Illinois and call a timeout when a guy is attempting a 50-yard field goal in a 25-mile-an-hour wind in his face, that would have had no success at any time during that game whatsoever, he ran a risk. But the offense had some productivity. DT Sheffield is explosive off the line. We'll get to him in a second, and then the wide receivers. This could have been a disastrous kind of night. Coach Shiano, defensively, we got to get better at this. We had 6 guys that never started a game, and then we brought in guys that had played, but not played very much. Okay, you know what? No excuses. Sometimes you just got to make a play, and no point did anybody make a play last night. Cam Miller, Jetty Ladd, Kosh Sanders, although he was in on that block punt. Bo Masco, no shows. And, next week, just because Miami of Ohio loses to Wisconsin 17-0 doesn't mean we get a break. That game was close throughout. It was 3-0 in the third quarter, 10-0 well into the fourth quarter, to a team we lost 42-7 to last year. So if we think, Miami couldn't get anything going against Wisconsin, their offense was inept. I'm going to say it again. Don't be shocked if this game is more competitive than you think it is. Yeah, they lost a bunch of guys. Not as good as Ohio. Don't be shocked. Because there's an opportunity for Miami of Ohio to get better against a defense that hasn't shown that anybody can make a play. If there's anything to take out of it, Coach sort of touched on this. You're going to have teams where you blow somebody out first couple games out, you're feeling good, and then you have a crappy season. There were times we blew out opponents like Wagner or Norfolk who ended up not having great seasons. So you feel you're building up momentum. Maybe this is the kind of game we needed to have to learn how to win differently. Now, question came up, I think, on the night report. Is it the night report? Yeah, maybe it was Rutgers, NewJersey.com. What would you rather do? Play a highly regarded MAC team or play someone like Boston College or Virginia Tech? I don't know. I might opt for like a Boston College, Virginia Tech kind of game. Nonetheless, we played a really good MAC team that perhaps the offensive momentum that we were able to build up against a good MAC team will help us get us through stretches of the first half of the season. We've had feast and famine first half of the seasons where, we beat, the Wagners of the world, the Norfolks of the world. And then we, get into league play, or we stumble against somebody that we shouldn't. So maybe building this offensive momentum helps smooth that part of it out, the scoring part out, where we can not have to worry about bad losses and being competitive, consistently competitive, especially on offense throughout the first 5 or 6 games. But on offense, a lot of people are excited. Pilaty's pissing me off. He was like, "Oh, this is fun. This is great. This is fun." It's not fun. It's not great. If you can't see that, if you can't make, and nobody on your defense can make a play, the fact that you completed some passes and almost had 400 yards is no badge of honor. That being said, our new guys, our old guys stood up. However, most of the offensive production was early. This has happened to Rutgers offenses in the past when they've gotten off to good starts. We had 185 yards after 3 drives. I'm like, wow, okay, this is for real. The reports out of camp are for real. This is a different kind of offense. 252 yards in the first half. Can Rutgers get a 500-yard production out of their offense, we didn't even get to 400 yards. And we scored 3 points in the second half. And that came late. Many ways, same old Rutgers. Couldn't handle prosperity. This is a MAC team. Run up 500 yards, score 40, 50 points. Now, say we were efficient. And on offense, even when they went back to pass, you had a sense that they were going to make plays. And they did. And Nathan was accurate. And he had a drop and miss, which I'll get to in a second. But he was 18 of 23, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns. He missed DT in the end zone late. Could have given us a touchdown lead late instead of field goal. Antoine played well. Had some burst. Not as worried as of now. Who's going to? We're not going to be that feature back kind of running back room. But he played well. 88 yards rushing, 14 for 88, 6.3 per carry. He had a long of 29 yards and a touchdown. I was wondering how they were going to situationally work the running backs, but they all got their carries, first down, second down, third down. CJ Campbell, 11 carries, 70 yards, 6.4 yards per carry. By the way, no receptions out of the backfield. We'll get to that in a second. Jay Sean, 3 carries, 17 yards, 5.7 per carry. The wide receiver, starting wide receivers, played as advertised. Ian was a go-to. 7 catches, 100 yards, 14.3 yards per catch. And he was doing those sideline outs all day long. It was there. Ethan threw it accurately. Ian caught everything. DT, 4 catches, 85 yards, 21.3 per carry, 55-yard touchdown, wide open. This is the kind of explosiveness that, quite frankly, I thought we were going to see more out of Daimir last year. And we didn't really. There's a lot of in-cuts, short, always coming up a yard or 2 short. DT is that guy. KJ, 5 catches, 54 yards, 11 yards per catch and a touchdown. Colin Weber, new tight end, one touchdown, or 1 catch rather, for 7 yards. At first, he looked kind of, I don't want to say slow, but he looked like a bigger tight end that didn't move like a wide receiver. But then when I saw on video after the game on television, he looked like a pass-catching, physical kind of tight end. And then Kenny Fletcher on a little rollout. I think he got a first down catch, 1 catch for 6 yards. Need more tight end production. Need more passes to the running back out of the backfield. I mean, I know, Kirk Shiraka is loath to do that, but they did a good job spreading the ball around to the starting wide receivers. But I'm thinking once we come up against better defenses, we're going to need to have some options. Did they show everything? Not showing anything? I don't know, but still, you got to practice that. Okay, let's get to Parker Navarro, who some people think is Jaden Daniels. 21 of 31, 239 yards, 3 touchdowns, 9 rushes, 93 yards. So he's responsible for over 300 yards. Had a rushing touchdown, numerous rollouts, flushed out of the pocket a lot, much more comfortable rolling out than standing there in the pocket. And of course, we struggle with that. Now, I have to say, we had some success on first downs, running between the tackles. We stop them on first down. Even sometimes on second down. But not third down was not good. So when offenses are running traditional between the tackles, drop back passing offenses, I think we can be okay. But quarterback has any mobility whatsoever. And they're able to execute off-schedule plays, we're going to have problems. Bangura, running back. We started Ohio, went to Minnesota, didn't play much, came back. Had a good night. 16 rushes, 86 yards. Couple long runs. The wide receiver, Chase Hendricks, killed us. 9 catches, 115 yards, just under 13 yards per catch. So their main guys, their quarterback, running back, and number one receiver, we could not stop. Team-wise, team stats, both had 24 first downs. The total yards, Ohio 440. We had 399. We won time of possession 31-45 to 28-15. Third downs, they were Ohio was 5 for 10. They were probably like 5 for 6 at one point, 5 for 7. We were 1 for 10. Of course, we were 5 for 5 on fourth down. Kind of like to see that. We're going to be aggressive, but calculated aggression, not just being a riverboat gambler. Ohio 1 for 1 for fourth down. Ohio outrushed us 200 to 147, and in the red zone, as discussed earlier, they were 5 for 5, and we were 4 for 5. 0 turnovers, so that's a good sign. Didn't turn the ball over, but we also didn't get any. And we had 118 total return yards to Ohio's 30. Some notes, Jay Patel has hit 17 in a row, field goals in a row, and that's Rutgers' record. Doug Eli, surprisingly, out for the season. He is committed to coming back. Abram Wright, who we thought he might start and play and be able to continue, did not play. And I was one of the first, I think it was like the first kickoff, saw somebody hobble off the field. I couldn't, from 124, quite see who it was. But games barely started and guys getting hurt on a kickoff. No question about it. We will have to get better on defense or the Big Ten will destroy us. Flat out. It's about chemistry and being a work in progress. Sometimes you just have to make plays. What do you think Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Washington are going to do to us? Best we can hope for is that we develop enough chemistry. Coach likes to talk about, he took the right angle on that play, didn't quite. At some point, guys are going to have to make plays. If we can evolve into a bend but don't break defense, that doesn't get gashed in the red zone and in the running game as much from midseason on, and we can just kind of hold our own, we can still be 7-5, 8-4 team if offense continues to play as well. I'm ambivalent that we're going to be able to be that efficient against Penn State, Ohio State, maybe even Oregon, maybe even Iowa. Now, you could say, well, it's the first week. Wisconsin struggled with Miami. Most of the Miami of Ohio. Nebraska was in a fight with Cincinnati to the end. Minnesota couldn't pull away from Buffalo. 25 Boise gets crushed by USF. Somehow, though, I feel those teams wind up being what they're supposed to be, which is the problem with Rutgers. You start off 3-0, 4-0. We wind up, being, 4-4, and we're hoping for an 8-4 season. We wind up being 6-6. I'm wondering if we're there yet. I don't think we're one of those teams where, we were a little lackluster first week, but by mid-season, end of the season, we're going to be what we think we are. We haven't built up that consistency yet. I'm skeptical. Same issues remain. Getting gashed on the ground, no push up front, no sacks, spotty secondary play. It might be, a little fun for the polities of the world to see some offense, and that kind of makes you feel better. But if it means our defense is going to be that bad, I wish the balance was a little better and we had more defense. Because there have been times we were in games. Ohio State a couple years ago, we were in that game until Gavin did what Gavin does. And nonetheless, speaking of which, some notes. Gavin Wimsatt loses his first game as a starter with Jacksonville State against Scott Frost and Central Florida. Classic Gavin stat line 15 of 29, 139 yards, no touchdowns, interception, 13 rushes, 28 yards, and a 17-10 loss to Scott Frost and UCF. It's on to Miami of Ohio week, and we'll see how things develop, what the storylines are going forward. Vibe check, game, it's pretty well attended. He announced 46, maybe there was 39, 40. Crowd was into it. First half was kind of more fun than the second half, because the second half you're like, oh man, here we go. But if we can continue offensive productivity and not be as bad on defense and be a bend but break Big 12 kind of team where you go 8-4, you throw for 200, you run it for 200, and you win some 45 to 30 games, I guess we'll take that nonetheless. Everybody enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next time.